I woke up at exactly 3:17 a.m. Not because of a nightmare. Not because of a sound. But because I felt something was counting down behind my eyes. I stared at the ceiling of the dorm room. The dim hallway light slipping through the crack under the door, everything quiet enough that I could hear my roommate breathing. And then I saw it. Red letters. Floating. Perfectly sharp. Sync progress. 80%. I blinked. The words didn't disappear. I rubbed my eyes, sat up, held my breath. Still there. My heart slammed so hard my fingertips went numb. 80% of what? Synced with who? And why did it feel like a verdict? Before I could finish the thought, another line appeared underneath, slower this time, as if whoever wrote it wanted me to feel every word. When progress reaches 100%, your identity will be completely replaced. I sat bolt upright, the blanket sliding down my legs, cold flooding my skin. Replaced? My identity? I scanned the room like someone waking from a bad dream. 2 beds. A cluttered desk. Half-empty boba cups. My roommate still asleep, turned away from me. No prank. No laughter. No projector. Just me. And the red text. My throat tightened. Another voice spoke inside my head. Flat. Emotionless. Like an automated bank hotline. Warning. Successful identity swap will trigger consequences. I froze. That voice didn't come through my ears. It echoed inside my skull. Who are you? I whispered. The reply came instantly. Designation. Synchronization system. I almost laughed. The sound came out broken. A system? This wasn't a game. This wasn't a novel. My name is Claire Monroe. First-year student at Northbridge University, finance major. Daughter of Monroe Holdings. I grew up in a house with a private gate and staff who knew my schedule better than I did. My monthly allowance could cover someone else's tuition. I ate at restaurants where prices weren't printed. I carried bags that came with private appointments and non-disclosure agreements. And now a system was telling me my life could be stolen? Another line appeared. Consequence. You will inherit high-interest debt. Consequence. You will be expelled after explicit images are leaked. My stomach dropped. Explicit images? I'd never taken anything like that. So where would they come from? I turned slowly toward the other bed. My roommate, Lena Park, slept peacefully. 3 months ago, when she moved in, her hair had been plain. Straight. Shoulder length. Simple. Mine had always been long, soft waves, ash brown, styled by a professional flown in from LA. Last week, Lena showed up with the exact same waves. Same color. Same layers. I'd told myself it was coincidence. Admiration. Harmless. But now, the system spoke again. Target of synchronization. Claire Monroe. My blood went cold. Who is doing this? I asked silently. A pause. Then. Synchronizing entity, Lena Park. I stared at her sleeping back. The girl who smiled shyly. Who always said she admired me. Who asked what skincare I used, what coffee I ordered, where I shopped. The girl I once felt sorry for. And suddenly every memory rearranged itself. The way she copied how I spoke. The way she laughed half a second after I did. The way she posted photos in the same angles I used. The vacation photo. The one she commented on, saying the background looked fake. The next day, she posted the same photo. Same rooftop. Same city lights. Different face. The system continued. 80% synchronized, social identifiers copied. Social identifiers? I asked. Voice patterns. Behavior. Style. Relationships. Online image. Consumption habits. My chest tightened. Can I stop it? Yes. How? Disrupt the source model. Me. If I change, she'll follow? Likely. And if I don't? A pause. Next target, your engagement. My breath caught. Engagement? A name flashed in my mind. Ethan Cole. The man my parents had promised me to since childhood. Distant. Polite. Never warm. My phone lit up on the desk. A notification preview. Ethan, are you awake? But the message wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to Lena. The red text pulsed faintly in my vision. Sync progress, 80%. I lay back down, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding. If she wanted my life, I would let her try. And then I would show her the price of living someone else's destiny. I didn't sleep again after that. Not really. I lay there with my eyes closed, counting the seconds between Lena's breaths, listening for the smallest shift of fabric, the faintest tap of a screen, any proof she wasn't as asleep as she looked. At 4:02 a.m., she rolled over once. At 4:11, she sighed like someone pretending to be comfortable. At 4:26, her phone vibrated under her pillow, and the glow leaked out for half a heartbeat before she smothered it. I kept my face still. I kept my breathing slow. Because the first rule in a war like this is simple. The moment the other person knows you see them, they change their strategy. And Lena Park had already proven she could change faster than anyone I'd ever met. Morning came with that gray, exhausted light that makes everything look like it's been washed too many times. The dorm smelled like cheap laundry detergent and leftover instant noodles. Lena sat up before her alarm even rang, then turned to me with a sweet, careful smile, the kind that says, "I'm harmless. Aren't I? Claire, you're up early." I watched her eyes flick over me like a scanner, taking inventory. My hair, my face, my mood, my model. I gave her the smallest nod, nothing more. Couldn't sleep. She made a soft, sympathetic sound. Me neither. Midterms are killing me. Except it wasn't midterms that kept her awake. It was progress. I didn't answer. I slid out of bed and walked into the bathroom with my phone in my hand, locked the door, and stared at my reflection like I was trying to memorize myself. I looked the same, but I felt like my life had been placed on a table and someone had started copying it piece by piece, right in front of me, with the confidence of a thief who believes the house belongs to them. I opened my messages again and looked at the notification I'd seen in the dark. Ethan Cole. The name sat there like a cold weight. Ethan wasn't my boyfriend. He wasn't even really my fiancé in the romantic sense. He was a contract with a human face, a legacy arrangement, a handshake that had been alive longer than my adult opinions. We'd grown up attending the same charity dinners and holiday galas, smiling for photos, saying the right things, never crossing into the messy territory of real emotion. He'd always kept a polite distance from me, like he couldn't decide whether he resented the arrangement or feared it. And now, he was messaging my roommate at 3 a.m. I wanted to call him. I wanted to demand an explanation. But a system didn't warn you about something like this unless it was already moving. If I reacted too loudly, too quickly, I'd look like the unstable one. And that was exactly how you lose people. Not by being wrong. By being emotional at the wrong time. I rinsed my face, dried my hands, and kept my voice inside my head where it belonged. System, I thought. Define engagement as target. The reply came with no pause. Target category. Primary social claim. High influence. Relationship. Public validation. So if she takes him, the progress increases. Confirmed. How much? Variable. Dependent on public confirmation. I stared at the mirror. Public confirmation. That meant she didn't just need Ethan to text her. She needed Ethan to choose her where other people could see it. She needed him to stand next to her in a room full of witnesses and make the world believe she belonged in my place. My phone buzzed with a new message. Not from Ethan. From my mother. Good morning, sweetheart. Did you sleep okay? By the way, that roommate of yours is such a lovely girl. She called me last night to check on you. She sounds just like you, so polite. I sent her a little thank you. My throat closed. Lena had called my mother. And my mother had sent her a thank you. I didn't even have to ask what that meant. It meant Lena had already started stealing my relationships from the inside. It meant she had already practiced my tone until the people who loved me most couldn't tell the difference in the dark. I returned to the bedroom and found Lena brushing her hair at the desk, the motion slow, deliberate. Same rhythm I used. Same angle. Same calm. When she saw me, she brightened. Oh, Your mom is so sweet. She texted me back. I didn't expect that. I looked at her, and it hit me hard how good she was. She didn't gloat. She didn't push. She presented it like a coincidence, like gratitude, like she'd stumbled into my mother's trust by accident. You called her, I said, my voice flat. Lena's expression didn't crack. Not even for a second. Yeah, I was worried about you. You've seemed stressed lately. That word again. Stressed. Pressure. The narrative she was building. Claire Monroe is unstable. Claire Monroe needs help. Lena Park is the caring one. I nodded once, as if I accepted it. That was thoughtful. Her eyes lit up, just a little too fast, like she'd been waiting for approval. Of course. We're roommates. The system's red text didn't appear during daylight, but I could feel its presence like a second pulse. I didn't need it to tell me what I already knew. Every time she gained trust from someone in my orbit, her progress climbed. I dressed differently that day on purpose. Not flashy. Not dramatic. Just wrong. A plain sweater. Minimal jewelry. No signature perfume. A version of myself that didn't feed her anything useful. In the hallway mirror, Lena paused behind me. I saw it in the reflection, her eyes narrowing slightly, recalculating. She had chosen an outfit that looked expensive but safe. She adjusted her posture when she saw mine. 2 seconds later, her shoulders relaxed into the same effortless angle I used. That was how it worked. She watched. She adapted. At campus, the social temperature changed the second we walked into the quad together. Heads turned. Eyes compared. Whispers rose and fell like wind. They look alike. Isn't Claire the rich one? Lena's glow-up is insane. Lena smiled at just the right people, the way I used to smile when I wanted to be cordial without being accessible. She didn't cling to me. She didn't chase me. She walked half a step behind, close enough to suggest intimacy, far enough to suggest she belonged there naturally. It was brilliant. And it was disgusting. Between classes, my phone vibrated. Ethan. A new text. Hey, are you coming to the Founders Gala next week? My gaze flicked to Lena without meaning to. She was leaning against a column. Across the hall, tapping on her phone with a calm that felt practiced. The system's voice whispered like ice. Progress shift detected. Engagement target contact active. I typed back carefully. Yes. Why? His response came quickly. I'm attending. Thought we should arrive together. I stared at that line. We should arrive together. That sounded like Ethan. Controlled. Strategic. Public. Then another message appeared beneath it, almost immediately, like he'd copied and pasted. Lena mentioned you've been overwhelmed. I'm here if you need anything. I felt something sharp and cold slide into my ribs. Lena mentioned. So she had access to him. Not just casual access. Enough access to mention my emotional state like she had standing. Like she had a claim. I didn't reply right away. I walked outside, found a quiet corner behind the library, and called Ethan. He picked up on the second ring. Claire. His voice was smooth, familiar, detached. Did you text Lena last night? Silence. A small inhale. She reached out. She was concerned. Concerned about what? About you. And you believed her. Another pause. Claire, don't do this. Do what? Make it a problem. I laughed once, short and humorless. It's already a problem. Ethan lowered his voice like he was trying to calm an animal. She seems sincere. Sincere. There it was again. Ethan, like my mother, was responding to Lena's performance, not to Lena herself. Because Lena wasn't trying to steal my face. She was stealing my story. The story where she was the good one. The loyal one. The one who understood me better than I understood myself. Ethan, I said, keeping my voice steady, how many times have we spoken this month? I don't know. And how many times have you spoken? To my roommate. His silence was answer enough. Claire, he said finally, you're overreacting. Overreacting. That was the knife. That word doesn't just disagree with you. It erases you. It paints you as unstable, dramatic, irrational, exactly the kind of person people stop trusting. I felt my nails dig into my palm. Fine, I said softly. I'll see you at the gala. Good. He sounded relieved, like he'd put a lid back on something messy. And Claire? What? Try to be kind. She's not like you. I ended the call without answering. Not like you. That was the whole point, wasn't it? Lena wasn't like me. She couldn't be. So she was building a version of me that she could wear, and Ethan was calling that version sincere because it asked for nothing and fed his ego. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the tree line, letting my anger settle into something sharper. Then the system spoke again, brief and brutal. Progress update, 83%. So it's working. I thought. She's gaining. Confirmed. How do I reverse it? Condition. Public disconfirmation. Identity collapse and crowd context. I repeated the phrase in my head. Public disconfirmation. Collapse in crowd context. So the system wasn't asking me to argue. It wasn't asking me to confront her in private. It wanted a moment where everyone could see the truth without me having to scream. A moment where the mask slipped. Where the copy failed. Where the audience recognized the imitation. I went back to class like nothing happened. That night, I didn't talk to Lena. I didn't glare at her. I didn't give her the satisfaction of conflict. I let her float around me with her careful, curated warmth, because warmth was a weapon when it was fake. At 11:30 p.m., she approached my bed with her phone in hand. Claire, she said gently, your mom asked if you're eating okay. She worries. I didn't look up. Tell her I'm fine. Lena hesitated. I already did. I also told her, you've been under a lot of pressure. I hope that's okay. I lifted my eyes then, slowly, and met hers. For half a second, something flickered, fear, maybe, or calculation. Then she smiled. I just want you to be supported. I returned the smallest smile. Of course. And that was the moment I decided what kind of person Lena Park really was. Because a caring roommate doesn't call your mother in the middle of the night to narrate your emotions. A caring roommate doesn't triangulate you. She doesn't recruit your relationships. She doesn't build a case file out of your life. Lena wasn't trying to help me. She was trying to replace me in the minds of the people who mattered. I lay down, eyes open in the dark, and made a quiet promise to myself. If she needed a crowd to finish the theft, then I would give her the biggest crowd she'd ever seen. And I would let her climb as high as she wanted. Because the higher she climbed, the harder she would fall. I'm going to the Founders Gala, I whispered into the darkness, even though no one asked. And I'm going to let her walk in like she owns my name. Then I'm going to take it back in front of everyone. I didn't go back to the dorm for 3 days after that. Not because I was scared, but because I needed silence, real silence, to think clearly about what kind of trap I wanted to set and how much rope I was willing to give Lena Park before she hanged herself with it. In those 3 days, Lena sent me exactly 17 messages. The first one asked where I was. The second said she was worried. The third said the room felt empty without me. By the 10th message, her tone shifted, less confident, more careful, like she was afraid of pushing too hard. And the 17th message was just one line. Claire, are you mad at me? I didn't reply to any of them. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I knew this, every word I gave her could become data. Every reaction could be studied, copied, refined. I wasn't going to feed her anymore. The system stayed quiet during those 3 days. But I knew better than to think it was gone. Its silence felt like the pause before something irreversible. On the 4th morning, I was sitting in the living room of my family's downtown apartment, laptop open, scrolling through the university's event calendar. My coffee had gone cold without me noticing. Then the voice came back. Warning, synchronization progress has increased to 88%. My hand froze on the trackpad. 8%. I thought. In 3 days. The system responded immediately. 'Cause identified, synchronizing entity has activated supplemental resources. I frowned. What kind of resources? There was no hesitation. High-interest loans. I laughed out loud. A short, dry sound that didn't reach my chest. Of course. If you want to fake a rich girl's life fast, there's only one shortcut. Money you don't actually have. Not time. Not patience. Just debt. I leaned back against the couch, closed my eyes, and started connecting the dots. Designer clothes. Upscale restaurants. Private clubs. Social gatherings where the moment you walked in, people assumed you belonged. My family's money was unreachable to her directly, so she borrowed the image instead and paid for it. With interest. Usury wasn't a mistake. It was strategy. System. I asked quietly, how much has she borrowed? Estimated total, $420,000 US. My lungs emptied. $420,000. For me, that was a rounding error. For Lena Park, it was a noose. And if she reaches 100%, I asked, that debt transfers to me? Confirmed. I opened my eyes. So it wasn't just reputation she wanted. It wasn't just my face, my voice, my fiancé. She wanted my financial immunity. She wanted to burn everything down and let me stand in the ashes holding the bill. I picked up my phone and opened social media. I didn't even have to search. Lena's profile was glowing. High-end restaurants. Rooftop bars. A leather handbag placed casually on a marble table. Logo angled just enough to be recognizable. The caption made my jaw tighten. Some days, just sitting still feels like success. That was my line. Word for word. The comments poured in. You're living the dream. Didn't know you were this rich. Your vibe has changed so much, love it. I scrolled further. A mirror selfie in an elevator. Warm lighting. A slight head tilt. Hand resting exactly where mine always rested. If someone blurred the face, they wouldn't know it wasn't me. The system confirmed it like a diagnosis. Status. Image substitution active. I exhaled slowly. So she's not just copying, I thought. She's replacing. That afternoon, I went back to campus. No warning. No messages. I wanted to see her face when she realized I hadn't disappeared. I'd just been watching. When I opened the dorm door, Lena was sitting at her desk organizing makeup. All new. Some real luxury brands. Some near-perfect counterfeits. She turned around and froze for half a second before lighting up. Claire, you're back. She hugged me. Carefully. Not too tight. Not too distant. Exactly the way I used to hug people. I didn't hug her back. I didn't push her away either. I just stood there. She noticed. Her smile faltered, just a hair. I was worried about you, she said softly. I looked at her. Were you? She nodded immediately. Of course. I set my bag down on the bed. What did you do while I was gone? She followed me, voice light. I met some new friends. Friends? Yeah. Some of Ethan's acquaintances. I turned to face her. She said it like it was nothing. Like she hadn't just crossed a line she had no right to even see. You got close to him quickly, I said. She tucked hair behind her ear. He said I'm easy to talk to. Easy. That word again. I smiled. You're impressive. Her eyes brightened. She thought it was praise. That night, she suggested we go out to eat. My treat, she said cheerfully. I've been making some money lately. I didn't refuse. I didn't encourage her either. I just said, okay. She picked a restaurant just off campus. Not famous, but expensive enough to make a statement. She ordered without checking prices. The waiter's expression changed the moment she spoke. I knew that look. The one that said, she belongs here. Halfway through the meal, the system whispered. New loan detected. I glanced at Lena's hands. They were trembling, just slightly, when she reached for her glass. She noticed me watching and smiled wider. Haven't eaten out like this in a while, she said. Feels nice. Yeah, I replied softly. It does. That night, back in the dorm, I pretended to fall asleep early. Lena thought I was out cold. She stepped onto the balcony and took a call. I couldn't hear the other side, but I heard her voice. Low. Tight. Urgent. Yes. I know. Give me a few more days. Don't call this late again. I stayed perfectly still. When she came back inside, she stood by my bed for a long time. Watching. Checking. Calculating. The system spoke once more, almost solemn. Synchronization progress, 90%. I stared into the darkness. 10% left. If Lena thought debt was the fastest way to become me, then I would let her borrow more. Borrow until the numbers stopped meaning anything. Borrow until the illusion collapsed under its own weight. Because copies don't break gradually. They shatter all at once. And when they do, everyone sees the cracks. The invitation to the Founders Gala arrived on a Monday morning, buried between a tuition notice and a campus newsletter. The subject line was polite, formal, almost boring. But one sentence near the bottom made my fingers pause over the trackpad. Selected student representatives will deliver remarks before faculty, donors, and media. Before I could think it through, the system surfaced again, cold and precise. Key event detected. Public visibility, maximum. Impact potential, critical. I leaned back in my chair and let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Of course. Of all places, of all moments, the gala was where it would happen. Wealth, appearances, validation, an audience large enough to rewrite a story in a single night. That afternoon, I heard the rumors before I ever saw Lena. She's going, right? I heard she's the student speaker. No, that's Claire. I thought Claire disappeared. I kept my head down and my pace slow, letting the speculation swirl without touching me. Panic makes noise. Confidence doesn't. When I returned to the dorm that evening, Lena was standing in front of the mirror. She wasn't wearing her usual campus clothes. She was wearing a gown. Ivory. Floor length. Clean lines. Expensive in a way that didn't scream for attention. The kind of dress people assume is custom-tailored because it looks like it belongs to the person wearing it. My kind of dress. She turned when she heard the door. Oh, she said lightly. You're back. I set my bag down. Going somewhere? She smoothed the fabric over her hips, eyes flicking to my reflection to measure my reaction. The gala. I nodded. You were invited? Her smile tightened just a fraction. Ethan said he could bring me. There it was. Out loud. No apology. No hesitation. The system whispered like a needle sliding under skin. Synchronization. 92%. I studied her face. She was glowing, not with happiness, but with the high of someone who believes they're finally being seen. Looks good, I said. Her eyes lit up, just like they always did. When she thought she'd won something. Thanks. I wanted it to be appropriate. Appropriate meant indistinguishable. That night, Ethan texted me. Are you attending the gala? Yes. I'll pick you up. No, I replied. I'll go with a friend. A pause. Then, Lena will be there. I know. Another pause, longer this time. Claire, he wrote, you've changed. I stared at the words until they blurred. Yes, I typed back. I have. The day of the gala, I arrived 10 minutes late on purpose. I wanted to see who stood in my place when I wasn't there. The lobby of the auditorium shimmered with glass and soft lighting. Donors in tailored suits. Faculty in formal wear. Students who suddenly remembered how to smile when cameras were around. And there was Lena, standing at the registration table like she belonged behind it. Head tilted just right. Smile warm, but restrained. Ethan at her side, one hand resting lightly at the small of her back, guiding her through introductions. She's stunning. Is that Claire Monroe? No, that's Lena. She's close to her. Ethan didn't correct them. The system pulsed. Synchronization, 94%. I stood near the entrance, unseen for a moment, watching her play the role. Watching Ethan play his. Lena laughed at something a donor said. Ethan leaned closer, murmuring something that made her smile wider. The two of them looked perfect. Balanced. Complementary. Like a story people wanted to believe. Lila, my friend, slipped in beside me and grabbed my hand. You're calm, she whispered. That scares me. I smiled faintly. We're not at the climax yet. The program began. Applause rose and fell. Names were announced. Awards handed out. Then the host's voice rang through the hall. And now, our student representative. Lena stood up immediately. Not rushed. Not uncertain. Like she'd rehearsed this moment 100 times. She walked toward the stage before my name could be said. The room hummed with confusion. I rose from my seat. My heels echoed sharply against the marble floor as I stepped into the aisle. Heads turned. Whispers spread. The spotlight hesitated, then shifted, caught between us. Lena reached the stage and picked up the microphone. "Good evening," she said, voice steady. "My name is Claire Monroe." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ethan smiled, satisfied. I reached the steps and climbed them without breaking stride. I stopped beside her and spoke, not into the microphone, but loud enough for her to hear. "How much are you in debt now?" Her breath hitched. Just for a second. I took the microphone from her hand. "Apologies," I said to the audience, calm and clear. "There seems to be a mistake." The room went dead. Silent. "The student representative tonight," I continued, "is me." Ethan surged to his feet. "Claire, stop this." I didn't look at him. I looked at Lena. She stared back, eyes wide, face pale beneath the stage lights. The system spoke, almost gently. Synchronization halted. Condition: identity verification in progress. I turned to the crowd. "Before I begin," I said, "I'd like to ask a question. What makes someone who they are? Is it what they wear? Who they stand next to? Or how convincing they sound when they say your name?" Murmurs rose like static. Lena's hands trembled at her sides. I smiled at her. "This isn't over," I said quietly. "It's just started." For a moment, no one in the hall moved. The silence wasn't empty. It was heavy, thick, with confusion, curiosity, and the uncomfortable sense that something irreversible was about to happen. Lena stood beside me on the stage, frozen. The confidence she'd worn so carefully all evening cracked under the lights. Not shattered yet. Just fractured enough for me to see the fear leaking through. I held the microphone loosely, my voice calm, almost conversational. "Some people think identity is something you can rehearse," I said. "They think if you say the right words, wear the right clothes, stand next to the right people, you can become anyone." A few heads in the audience nodded without realizing it. I turned slightly, letting the spotlight catch both of us at once. Two girls. Similar height. Similar hair. Similar dresses. "But there's a difference," I continued, "between resemblance and replacement." Lena swallowed hard. Ethan took a step forward from the front row. "Claire," he said sharply, "this is inappropriate." I finally looked at him. "Is it?" I asked. "Or is it just inconvenient?" The words landed harder than I expected. Because Ethan didn't answer. He didn't deny it. I raised my hand and pressed the control in my palm. The screen behind us lit up. Not with a presentation. Not with a school logo. But with numbers. A loan statement. Borrower: Lena Park. Total principal: $420,000. Interest rate: variable, high. Risk. The murmurs exploded. Lena let out a sharp sound, half gasp, half cry. This isn't." I didn't raise my voice. "She borrowed money," I said evenly, "to live a life she couldn't afford." The screen changed. Messages. Late-night threats. Payment reminders. Warnings about consequences if deadlines were missed. Lena shook her head violently. "You hacked this. You made this up." I looked at her, not unkindly. "If I did," I said, "you could sue me." The silence that followed was brutal. I pressed the control again. The screen split. On one side, bank transfers. On the other, internal approval logs. A familiar name appeared in bold. Approved by Ethan Cole. Source: Coleman Road Joint Investment Fund. Ethan went pale. "That money," I said, finally turning fully toward him, "came from a fund my family backs. A fund you were trusted to manage." The hall erupted. Ethan stepped back like he'd been shoved. "I was helping," he said. Weakly. "She needed support." I laughed then. Not loudly. Not cruelly. "You weren't helping her," I said. "You were helping yourself feel important." Lena collapsed to her knees. "I didn't want to hurt anyone," she sobbed. "I just didn't want to disappear." I looked down at her. You didn't disappear, I said. You chose to overwrite someone else. The system spoke one. Last time, clear and final. Synchronization failed. Identity theft rejected. System terminated. The red text vanished. No countdown. No warning. Just gone. Security moved in quietly. Efficiently. Lena was helped off the stage, still crying, still reaching for Ethan's name. Ethan didn't follow her. He was already surrounded by donors, by administrators, by people who suddenly needed answers he couldn't give. The gala ended early. By morning, the story was everywhere. A student exposed for identity fraud. Illegal loans. Misuse of funds. A broken engagement quietly dissolved. Lena withdrew from the university within the week. No farewell post. No explanation. Ethan left the country shortly after, officially for business restructuring. Unofficially, to escape the consequences of choosing the wrong mask to believe in. As for me, I returned to my life. Not unchanged, but intact. One afternoon, weeks later, I stood in front of my mirror again. Same face. Same name. But something was different. I no longer wondered if someone could take my place. Because I understood now. A life isn't something you can copy. It's something you have to carry. And the weight of it belongs only to the person strong enough to bear it. The end.